Okay, the news just broke. Actually, it says 10 hours ago, but I just got it. I don't know why this is not all over the place. I was just talking with Kenyatta, and he said Sandra Bland had 18 times the normal level of pot in her body. Actually, it turns out that she had 18 micrograms per liter in her bloodstream, which is more than 3 times the legal limit for drivers in Colorado and Washington State. This is really interesting. I'm not a medical marijuana expert. I know that pot is relatively slowly metabolized. On the other hand, it had been, other than once or twice, like every third year or something. It's most of my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, early 60s. I didn't smoke any pot. In fact, for my 30s, 40s, 50s, I don't think I smoked any pot at all. And since it's been legalized here in Washington, D.C., I've smoked it a couple of times, and remembering what it was like when I was a teenager, it's a very pleasant drug. And if you get the right kind, but if you wanted to really screw with somebody's brain, remember when Maureen Dowd went to Colorado after pot was legalized? And she was like, "Oh boy, I'm going to go to Colorado and find out about this pot stuff." And she went into a store, or somebody did it for her or whatever, but she ended up with one of these candy bars that's actually like 10 doses or something. And not realizing that she had 10 doses, she ate the whole thing. And I may be wrong on the quantities here, and if so, Maureen, my apologies. But the bottom line is that she ended up spending the whole night curled up in the fetal position on her bed in her hotel room, scared to death because she was kind of tripping. I mean, when you take a really large amount of marijuana, you get into a kind of a semi-hallucinatory state, and it can be extremely unpleasant if you don't like that kind of a place. I mean, for people who've taken acid and stuff like that, it's no big deal. But for somebody who's never smoked anything other than pot, it can be damn scary to overdose on marijuana. It's not a danger. Nobody has ever died from overdosing on marijuana, but as Maureen Dowd can tell you, it can be very, very unpleasant. And when I heard that Sandra Bland refused breakfast and then was found dead an hour or so later, the alarm bells went off in my head. I was like, refused breakfast? Why does somebody refuse breakfast? Could it be that they thought that their food was tainted? Could it be that the evening before the meal that she had been given had an overdose of marijuana in it? I mean, 3 times the legal limit in Colorado is presumably a fairly significant amount of pot, 18 micrograms per liter. And the reason I mentioned my own experience smoking pot is the one thing that I've noticed in my old age, and I don't think I ever paid attention to it when I was a kid, was that, on the few occasions where we live, I mean, we've got neighbors who have pot. Hey, come on over. You want a glass of wine? You want a toke? I mean, this is what's happening now in Washington, D.C., now that pot is legal. And so, I've smoked it a few times, and what I've noticed is that after about, it takes about 5 minutes to get high from smoking it. And then after, which is, not unlike, drinking a couple of drinks. And then after 3, 4, at the most 5 hours, it's gone. At least for me. I mean, maybe I have a very, very highly functioning liver. Maybe for most people it's 6 hours. But whatever. It's not going to be, you're not going to have those high levels in your bloodstream 3 days later. There will be pot in your bloodstream that's detectable 3 days later because it's fat soluble, and the lipid system in the body, the fat system in the body, doesn't turn over as rapidly as the water soluble system in the body that runs stuff through the kidneys. And fat soluble things ultimately have to end up in the liver, and then going through the gallbladder and mixed with the digestive acids in the gut, and excreted that way or broken down. But 3 times the legal limit for Colorado and Washington? I think it's conceivable. And again, I mean, I had my weird conspiracy theory about Donald Trump was not picking on Scott Walker, and to this day still has not picked on Scott Walker in an ad hominem fashion, in a personal fashion. He's just said, well, there's some problems in Wisconsin. The whole reason Donald Trump is in the race is to take Jeb Bush out, because Jeb Bush is not the favorite of the Koch brothers, and Donald Trump is part of their little merry band that gets together, and they all pay each other. They all pay $25,000 a year into this thing to be able to sit together and decide who's going to be the leader of the free world next time around. So, and maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I wrote the thing up for alternate, and I don't know if it's still on the site or not, but some people are like, well, Trump is picking on Walker now. Well, yeah. But he sure waited a long time, and Jeb has been falling in the polls. But anyhow, my point, again, this could be another conspiracy theory, and I could be wrong. But if I'm Sandra Bland, and somebody brings me dinner, and the police department has been confiscating pot, and they have confiscated some good edibles that came out of Colorado or Washington State, where it just tastes like a chocolate bar, but it's a massive overdose. And this is actually a problem that they're struggling with in these states, is the edibles, right? If I'm Sandra Bland and somebody has slipped me a pot Mickey, basically, the night before, and I spent the whole night tripping in my jail cell from an overdose of marijuana, in the morning when they bring me another meal and say, would you like some more food? My response is going to be, no, thank you. And, it's not inconceivable that she could be freaked out. I mean, she was on a medication for epilepsy, Keppra, I think it was called, that has a side effect of suicidal thoughts and sudden withdrawal from it. And she did not have this drug with her in her jail cell, apparently. Sudden withdrawal from it causes suicidal thoughts. Add that to a marijuana overdose, it's like, and name a police department that doesn't have pot in their evidence lockers.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
This is raising more questions than it's answering. And why is this AP report not on the front page of the New York Times right now? By Michael Dusik and Jamie Stengel.